Recording begins. Interior. Close acoustics, a small room or a large room with furniture absorbing the sound, the faint tick of something mechanical. Late. The objective tonight is to determine whether anyone previously investigated ROOK. That's the specific question. Not whether anyone knew the coordinate existed. The 1967 survey document answered that. Someone knew. Someone on or connected to the persistent survey knew enough to write archive grid intersection confirmed on a loose sheet and keep it out of the official record. That's knowledge of the grid, but it isn't necessarily investigation. Knowing a location is on the grid and actively investigating the node at that location are different things. The crescent nodes had investigator records, catalog cards, brass slots, names and dates and status fields. If ROOK has the same infrastructure, there may be a record of whoever reached it before us. That's what I came here to find. I'm in the archive annex of a building I've been to before in a different context, a municipal records storage facility that also holds materials transferred from various other repositories when they were consolidated or closed in the 1990s and early 2000s. The facility is not publicly listed as an archive. It appears on official records as a storage and logistics building. Hannah found it through a cross-reference in one of the catalog cards from 47 Marginal Road, a reference number in a margin annotation that she traced through 3 intermediary documents before she identified the building. She told me there was a box in the transfer manifest that didn't match any known collection. Transfer date 1994. Origin unlisted. The manifest entry reads only, miscellaneous documentary material, unprocessed. She told me it was worth looking at. Getting access took 2 weeks, and a request form that asked me to specify the research purpose, which I answered as genealogical investigation, which is technically true in ways I didn't explain to the clerk who processed it. I was given a 2-hour window in a supervised reading room in the annex. The supervisor is at a desk on the far side of a partition. I can hear her occasionally. She hasn't come through to check on me. The box is on the table in front of me. It arrived on a trolley. The supervisor set it down without looking at the label. The box is not labeled in the standard repository format. Every other box visible on the shelves through the reading room window has a 4-part catalog reference on a white adhesive label. Collection code, series, box number, date range. This box has a label, but the label reads only, unassigned, for review. No collection code, no date range, no series reference. For review stamped in blue, which in this facility's system means the box has been flagged for cataloging but hasn't been processed yet. It arrived in 1994 and has been waiting for review for 30 years. Nobody reviewed it, or someone did and decided it shouldn't be cataloged. I put on the cotton gloves the facility requires for handling unprocessed materials. I opened the box. Inside, loose papers, no folders. Approximately 40 sheets, some typed, some handwritten, none of them in any order I can immediately identify. A small number of objects wrapped in acid-free tissue. I haven't opened those yet. 2 envelopes, sealed, with no writing on the exterior. And at the bottom of the box, underneath everything else, pressed flat against the cardboard base, 3 catalog cards held together with a rubber band that disintegrated when I touched it. I set everything else aside and arranged it on the table so nothing overlaps. I'll come back to the papers and the wrapped objects and the sealed envelopes. All of that goes on the record eventually. But the cards are the reason I'm here, and I want my first reading of them before I've handled anything else in the box. Object sequencing matters with archive material. I've learned that the order you approach things in affects what you see. The cards are not identical to the catalog cards from 47 Marginal Road. Those were standard library catalog dimensions, roughly 12 by 7 centimeters, printed field labels in a serif typeface, entries filled in by hand or typewriter. These are slightly larger. The cardstock is heavier, cream rather than white, with a texture that suggests age or a different manufacturing standard. The printed field labels are in a sans serif typeface I don't recognize. But the basic structure is familiar enough to be recognizable as the same system. A subject field, a status field, a dates field, and a node field, one that the 47 marginal road catalog cards in the brass slots didn't have, which either means this card format is newer, or it's from a different part of the network that records node information differently. I read the first card. Subject A, Keller, status closed, node 47 marginal road. Date 1987, I know that name. Keller is in the system records from 47 marginal road, closed, same year, same node. This card matches what we already know. I set it aside. The second card, subject Carter, status closed. Dates 1972 to 1974. Carter is also in the 47 marginal road records. Dates match. The node field being blank on this card may mean Carter's record was created before the node field was added to the format, or it may mean Carter investigated a node the card system didn't have a designation for yet. I note the blank and move on. The third card, I'm going to read it exactly as it appears. I want this on the recording precisely. Subject R, Velasquez, status closed, node ROOK. Dates 2031 R Velasquez, node ROOK, status closed, dates 2031 to 2031. The date is in the future, not by a small margin, not a year or two ahead. The kind of discrepancy that might be a clerical error or a misdated entry by someone who wrote the wrong digit and didn't correct it. 2031 is more than 5 years from now. 5 years is not a clerical error. 5 years is a different category of wrong. And the card is not new. It's physically in my hands. It's on the same cardstock as the other two. Same weight, same cream color, same serif imprint on the field labels. The corners show the same foxing, the small brown oxidation spots that develop over decades in fluctuating humidity. The rubber band that held all three together left the same faint mark on this card as on the Keller and Carter cards. This card has been in that box, in that annex, for the same length of time as the other two. It was not recently placed here. It has been here for decades, recording an investigation that hasn't happened yet. I need to say something about context before I go further, because I don't want the recording to sound like I'm reacting without a frame of reference. The 47 marginal road investigator records included a future date. R. Velasquez, 2031, status closed. We noted it at the time. Hannah and I both looked at it and neither of us had an explanation, so we logged it as an open thread and continued. The working assumption, not confirmed, just operating, was that the archive system doesn't relate to time the way we do. It registers investigators. The mechanism by which it knows to register them isn't necessarily sequential. We'd already seen the document update after the node closed, already seen a field resolve without anyone present to trigger it. A future date on a catalog card was strange, but we were past the point where strange required a complete stop. What I didn't have in Season 1 was the node field. Velasquez didn't just appear in the system. Velasquez investigated ROOK, the same underwater coordinate, the same node, and their record reads closed, which in the system's vocabulary means the investigation ended without completing. Not that it succeeded. Not that it reached a convergence. The same status as Keller, who reached a convergence point alone in 1987 and failed. The same status as the 1959 investigator, who attempted the convergence alone and spent 65 years in the threshold chamber below 47 marginal road as a result. Closed doesn't mean finished. It means stopped. And for at least two previous investigators, stopped meant trapped. I've been trying to determine what did not reach the threshold means in relation to the other closed records. The 1959 investigator reached the threshold. We know that because they were in the threshold chamber when we completed the convergence. Keller presumably reached the threshold too, since their record shows convergence attempted. Velasquez, according to the note on the back of their card, didn't get that far. Which means Rook has an approach, something between the entry point and the threshold, where an investigator can fail before they even reach the stage where the convergence becomes possible. Whatever Rook looks like from the inside, it isn't a building you can walk through and find a stairwell. There's something between the surface and the threshold that Velasquez couldn't cross. I don't know what that is. I'm recording it as a constraint on the investigation. I want to record it carefully. The handwriting on the Velasquez card is different from the other two. Keller and Carter are written in the same hand, same pen pressure, same letter form, same slightly compressed capital letters in the subject field. Whoever made those two cards made them together, or within a short enough period that the same person's hand didn't change. They were filed at the same time, probably by the same administrator. The Velasquez card was written by a different hand. Lighter pen pressure, rounder letter forms. The R in Rook is formed differently, wider base, more deliberate, than the R in the routing labels on the other two cards. The date 2031 is written with slightly more space between the digits than the years on the Keller and Carter cards, as though the writer was being careful. As though the number was unusual and they wanted it to be read correctly. This card was not made when the other two were made. It was added later by someone different at a different time, placed in the same collection, secured with the same rubber band, stored in the same box. Someone anticipated this investigation and prepared a record for it, or they recorded it from a position in time where 2031 was already the past. I've been sitting with this for several minutes and I don't have a clean way to hold it. I'm putting it on the tape and moving on. The back of the Velasquez card is not blank. On the Keller and Carter cards, nothing on the reverse. Standard for catalog cards, the back is working space, left empty if there are no annotations required. The back of the Velasquez card has a single line. Small handwriting, same hand as the front. Written close to the bottom edge of the card, as though the writer left the space above it deliberately, as though they considered writing more and decided against it, or as though they expected something else might be added there later. It reads, "They did not reach the threshold." The threshold, not the node itself, not the convergence point, which is the term the crescent node infrastructure uses for the room where two investigators complete a registration. The threshold, a different word for a different thing, or a different name for the same thing in a different system. Rook has a threshold. Velasquez in 2031 will go to Rook and not reach it. The record is closed. I look at the date again. I look at the node field. I look at the status field. Then I notice the wall. Along the far side of this room, at eye level, there is a brass rectangle mounted to the plaster. I registered it when I came in and filed it as a document return slot, the kind of thing you see in archive reading rooms, where you push processed materials through a gap for collection by the staff. I've been in this room for 40 minutes, and I haven't thought about it since. It isn't a document return slot. The proportions are wrong. The mounting hardware is different. The brass surround is the same weight and finish as the catalog slots in the second floor hallway at 47 Marginal Road. It's a catalog slot. There is a catalog slot in this room, and I have been sitting 3 meters away from it for 40 minutes without recognizing what it was. I stand up. I cross to the slot. I look at it directly. It's empty. No card visible through the gap. No paper protruding. Just the brass surround and the dark interior behind it. I stand in front of it for a moment. I don't touch it. I've learned not to touch archive infrastructure before I've recorded what I'm looking at. In the Crescent node system, touching something in the wrong sequence produced no response. The archive required intent and attention, not just physical contact. I don't know if the same logic applies here. I don't know what the protocol is for a slot in an unprocessed archive box room that wasn't supposed to be a node location. I go back to the table. I pick up the Velasquez card. I walk back to the slot and hold the card in front of the opening without inserting it. Nothing happens for approximately 30 seconds. I stand there, the card in my hand, the slot in front of me, the supervisor on the other side of the partition, audible occasionally, not coming through, the mechanical tick from somewhere in the room. I'm about to put the card back in my pocket when the slot makes a sound. A single sound. Small, like something being inserted from the other side.